What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We're here breaking down this Thursday MLB slate. I got my boys with me, Big T, and more importantly, Mr. JT Hayes. And this was the crew. I mean, we were running wild during NBA season every Tuesday, every Thursday. And, I feel like it's been a while. So definitely excited to talk some baseball with these guys. JT, what's going on, my friend?
Man, it's good. It reminds me of the good NBA season. I think we did one show in the beginning of baseball season. You were dressed up like you were going to your first communion. You were going to like a family dinner. It looked really sharp, and that was a good night. So excited to be back with the two of you guys on a Thursday night slate. It's probably just a couple more weeks of these nice big baseball slates before it's all NFL all the time. I'm excited for that too, but we should smash over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, things will start to change, obviously, with NFL. Got about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we'll touch on that here in the open, like what we're going to offer at Run Pure Sports and some of the changes that are coming, the show schedule and whatnot. But before we do that, we'll bring in Big T, fresh off the Denver trip, first show that Big T and myself have done together after spending some quality time together in Denver. So Big T, welcome back to the Kentucky office, and how's everything going over there?
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It was a fun trip. I stayed a little longer than Hoop, played a couple extra rounds of golf and had some fun. But, man, I was a little tired towards the end, had some plane trouble coming back. I run terrible on planes, but it's a good feeling to be back with the boys, like Hoop said. I always enjoyed those. I thought it was Thursday too, but Tuesday, Thursday with JT and the Hoopster, we picked some winners. I don't know where Uncle T went. I think he started back at his job this week. But JT is an adequate replacement, much better looking too. I mean, looking strong in the camera view here, which always brings winners. I'm ready to go. I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. We're starting to get into the grind of things here, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, once it starts, it's full go. I mean, obviously, we're going to have baseball, we're going to have NFL, and then, basketball just kicks right in middle of October, which is going to be obviously sooner than last year because it didn't start until December, which, personally, I like that December start. I wish they would have stuck with it. To me, it kind of schematically makes more sense because you're not competing with NFL all that much, but they decided to go back to the middle of October start date. So it's going to get crazy here. And, we have our schedule all set, ready to go for NFL, like I kind of talked about on the previous show. A lot of the same from last year, but there's definitely going to be some changes, some upgrades, and more content on the NFL schedule. In terms of the shows, we are going to roll out a live, I think most of them are free, show every day at 2 p.m. Eastern, kind of covering different topics and, strategy pieces throughout the week. Big T, talk to the people about the NFL product, kind of what we're going to be offering and some of the new shows and stuff that we have going on here.
Yeah, I think we're going to be attacking it similar to last year, but also different. We're going to try to have a piece of content come out every day in article form. I think we have a football show every single day too, which will have different stuff. I mean, coming at you from all angles, the high totals, the stacks, the receivers, the matchups, all kinds of different things like always. We should have I'm planning to put some sort of written schedule out too, to where everyone could see all the content, hopefully by this weekend, if not, or early next week, where we can kind of showcase all the stuff that's coming out. I know we're planning on having JT do some writing with the gym articles too. A couple of those guys, I love when they do those articles. We're planning to space those out this year too, to where you get a couple each day. If it's Monday, maybe you get the Monday Night Football. Thursday, same thing. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe a couple games a day where you can read up on the game. So by the time the weekend gets here, you got a ton of knowledge ready to go to pick some teams and hopefully have a big year of football.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to that, everything that we're going to be rolling out. And like I said, some of the content is going to be the same. Some's going to be changed a little bit. The playbook, which I kind of headed up last year, is going to be a little bit different than last year. I think you guys will like it. I think it will be better for you in terms of building lineups. We have the promo code RPS NFL 15. It's going to last, I'd say probably a week and a half more. I mean, as soon as that Thursday NFL game starts, RPS NFL 15 is gone. And what you get with that promo code is you're locked into a cheap rate. So if you want just DFS on our site, it's typically $80 for everything, every single sport under one umbrella, where we don't upcharge you for new sports when they start. So RPS NFL 15 will get you a 15% off of that $80 for life. So as long as you don't cancel your subscription, you're paying, I think, $67, $68, and that price stays with you month after month. If you want to do the DFS and bets combo, typically $100. That'll bring you down to $85, and that price is locked in for life. And it's much different setup than all these other sites where, NFL starting and they're going to charge you $300, $350. They charge you $350, $400, $500 for freaking NASCAR. All that's included. And, I think we definitely have the best team in the industry, breaking down every single sport, most of the sports that DraftKings has offered. So head on over to runpuresports.com, plug in that promo code RPS NFL 15. You only have about a week and a half left to use that code. JT, anything to add here before we hop in and talk some baseball?
It's going to be really, really exciting. I mean, the 15% break for the lifetime of your subscription is just something that nobody else has ever done, I don't think. So, and I'm excited. I'm excited for NFL. I had a good NFL season last year, and I think it's going to be even better this year. It's going to be a great group of guys putting out some cores, some low-owned cores. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Now we'll get us started. Like I said, about a week and a half, 2 weeks. NFL is going to be here, and then it's full go. So definitely looking forward to that. All right, let's get in and talk a little bit of baseball here. We have a 9-game slate, and we'll talk pitchers, and then we'll go in and kind of go game by game, which is the route that I prefer. So that's the route we're going to go today. At the top of the pitcher pool, we have Max Scherzer. We have Chris Sale, 10-4, 10-2. Chris Sale has been solid in his first 2 starts, but the pitch count has not been super high. He gets a pretty good matchup here tonight against Minnesota. And then you have Max Scherzer, obviously one of the better pitchers in baseball here. Not the greatest matchup. I'm going to go to you first, Big T. Talk to me about these 2 guys. And I know, I've been following your core plays and stuff recently, and you've kind of leaned towards going cheaper at pitcher. Give me the breakdown here of Scherzer Sale. Do you think you need to play one of these guys, both of these guys? Just kind of talk to me about these 2 guys at the top.
Yeah, for the most part, I've been going cheaper just because I've been trying to get the big bats, and the cheap guys have been projected somewhat similar to the top range, not where it's like a crazy difference. And tonight, I mean, it's kind of similar. You see Max and Sale at the top, and they are bigger names than, I mean, there's still two of the best guys that you want to see at the top of the ranks for sure. Both have strikeout upside. Both have decent matchups. I mean, I know San Diego on paper is a tough spot for Max, but they've been struggling a little bit. Max is a big game pitcher, as we've always seen. I could see him showing a little upside tonight in this game. I like them both. I don't think either one of them is necessarily a must, but I do think they're my top 2. I'm not going to play Darvish versus the Dodgers. I guess that's really the only guys. I mean, I'm definitely not playing like Zach Eflin at that price. But at the top, it's just these 2.
Even if Eflin was 4K, you're probably not going to.
Well, I was trying to look at the prices, and I was like, is that really his price? I mean, 9,300.
Yeah, well, he just got scratched, so even if
he did. Well,
and Matt Moore.
I'm not going to play his ass then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even at 4K, you're not going to want to go Eflin today. Matt Moore is starting for Eflin, and let's see what sort of price tag he has. 7.5, so a better price tag. So continue on. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to use his ass either, though. So cross him right off there too, and let's see what JT's got at the top.
Yeah, JT, talk to me about Scherzer Sale at the top, and anything else, I guess, at this top range. I mean, to me, nothing else really stands out. I mean, to me, it would be Scherzer Sale. Probably not touching any of these other guys. So go ahead and talk to me about this range up here.
Yeah. So the thing about Darvish is he's actually dominated the Dodgers this season. And think he pitched well against them last year, but he's coming off an IL stint, and that's always a little bit concerning, especially for a guy priced at 10K. The thing with Scherzer that I think is great is these teams played 16 innings last night. I saw the metrics earlier, something about 17 or 18 pitchers used, like 600 pitches, something like that. These bullpens were emptied out in that 16-inning game last night. I wish I had any type of confidence in Jay Stingler with the Padres, but he's done some weird things with pitchers all season long. You remember early in the season, he was capping Musgrove and Snell at 4 innings, and just harder to trust. And with Scherzer right there at just a couple of $100 more, I think he's easily the top play on the board for the very reason that you guys both mentioned about Chris Sale. He's been fine, 20 points in each of his starts, I believe, DraftKings points. But at that price point, I think you can match his output because I don't see them pushing him to a 7-inning appearance tonight. Twins have been hitting the ball quite well, striking out just a little bit less, certainly not facing pitchers of Chris Sale's caliber. But I think guys like Zach Allen is interesting, especially with Rhys Hoskins going back on the IL. Now the Phillies have to scratch Zach Eflin, who probably wasn't going to go too long anyway. They move Matt Moore up a day. Moore is a disaster. The bullpen is absolutely terrible. So I could see Gallen having a good performance here and getting a pretty good shot at the win bonus. And then just this mid-range is kind of loaded here. My favorite might be Elieser Hernandez coming off of a down performance, but he was in Cincinnati in the small ballpark. I think Elieser Hernandez is a guy that interests me quite a bit. And you pair Scherzer and he together, you're well under 20K for your two pitchers, and you can do whatever you want with the bats on a night where it's going to be interesting to see where we have to find some offense.
Yeah, the offense is somewhat lacking tonight. There's a few spots of interest, I think, that we'll obviously get to. But overall, I mean, this could be a slate where you definitely want to prioritize pitching in cash games. I think it's viable to try to pair Scherzer and Sale at the top. We're going to get some cheap bats, I'm sure, once all these lineups come out. Another guy I have a little interest in, actually more than a little, Patrick Corbin. He's 8-2 on DK, but he's like 7-2 on FanDuel. And I've just kind of been picking on the Marlins, and it's worked out quite well. I had the guy last night. I know Big T was on him as well. Worked out fine. The Marlins offense is a disaster. You get a pitcher in a good pitcher's ballpark. JT, any interest in Corbin for you?
Corbin's tough. Where for me, just at that price point, there are other places that I'd like to go. I just don't trust the Nationals right now. I mean, they did let Gray go, I think 6 or 7 innings, but they're not playing for anything. And at that price point, I'd rather the guy in the same game, Elieser Hernandez. I think Corbin's fine, but you have other plays, just 500 more Alex Wood against the Mets team that, I mean, I think the season's over there in New York. I said it was going to be over a few weeks ago. And, you know, Wood hasn't been great, but this has been a really good matchup for opposing pitchers, in particular opposing left-handers. And in that part, that I think Wood is maybe just as viable as he. Not saying that I won't have any of him, but I think I prefer Hernandez certainly at a lower price point.
Yeah, I mean, probably more of a FanDuel play. So I just pulled up 7.2K on FanDuel. I mean, that's close to a full punt. You're gonna be able to play whatever offense you want on this slate. So definitely prefer them over there opposed to on DraftKings. Big T, talk to me about some of these other pitchers. Kind of dive into this mid-tier to lower range for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on those two guys in Miami again. Same park we always talk about. Play those guys there pretty much always. You just look at Miami; they strike out so freaking much. Looking at these numbers, off the page, really. I mean, striking out the last month, 27%, not much lower on the season even. Just strike out a ton. And I hate playing Corbin. I agree with what JT said, where you just don't know. I mean, he could come out at 60 pitches, and I don't think anyone would be shocked. But, man, if he gets it rolling, he could really put up a big showing. So I like him even on DK. Same with Elieser Hernandez. Like both of them. My boy Kikuchi against Kansas City, too, for 7,300. I don't know what it is, but Kansas City is one of my hardest teams for whatever reason to play pitchers against because they're awful and you're not worried about runs. But, man, they don't strike out like a crazy amount. So I feel like it limits the upside, while at the same time you have security. So you got to kind of weigh it. And tonight, 7,300 is definitely a good price point to kind of attack that, especially in this park. We like pitchers in this park. I think he would be where I would go also in that range. So those three, I mean, maybe you could play Zach Gallen, but I don't really want to go there, I don't think, unless one of you guys talks me into it. I know when we were at the Coors game on Friday, he pitched a gem, got into the 30s at Coors. Solid pitcher. I don't mind the matchup versus Philly. The price point's good. I could be talked into him. My issue is I think I like both pitchers in Miami and Kikuchi more, so I'd rank him fourth. But I could be convinced to take a stab at that price point. And then the only cheap guy, just to polish it out, is you can definitely put Brad Keller in there for me. I mean, just because of the price, 5,200. We've seen good games along the way this year to where he can do it in good park, good matchup versus Seattle. 5,200 is cheap, and his projection looks pretty high for that price point.
Yeah, I mean, Keller's been pitching solid. I mean, back-to-back solid starts, gets to pitch in this, very pitcher-friendly park tonight in Seattle. Don't hate that as a punt. I really like Kikuchi here, and obviously for kind of all the reasons that you mentioned. But when you pull up his recent matchups, I mean, he's had a tough stretch going against some of the better offenses in baseball. Has a away matchup with Houston, home against Toronto, in New York against the Yankees, against Tampa Bay, who I think is a very solid offense, Houston, Oakland. He's had a very tough run here. Tonight, I think, is one of his better matchups against Kansas City. So I'm going to definitely be on Kikuchi as well at 7-3. I like that call. JT Hayes, go ahead and round out this lower, mid to lower 7K range and any punts that you have interest in.
Yeah, I mean, for me with Corbin, just to circle back to that, it's very simply a bias against Patrick Corbin. You never know what you're getting from him. That's why I said I won't say no to him. I'll have some, but with respect to these other guys, Kikuchi seems too cheap in this matchup. He's been really good this year, even in some of these tougher matchups. Yes, he did just get blown out in Houston, but I think that helps, right? Because the price point came down, and you know that he's going to pitch a little better. I do, as Big T said, worry a little bit about the fact that there's very little strikeout upside with the Royals. And if one of these guys gets on base, they're trying to steal, right? So there is some concern there in terms of how will he be able to prevent runs if they do get on base. But that price point is definitely too cheap. Keller's price is too cheap too. I don't know. I just kind of like some of these Seattle left-handed bats against him. So I don't know that you need to go to 5-2 for Keller on this slate. I think there's enough in the mid-range and with Max. But if you wanted to take, a couple of lineups, you're multi-entering, and you want to pair some of these higher-powered offenses together, I think he could work out as well. And then one thing I'll say for Gallen, this Philly team has been mired in a slump for the most part. They did hit the ball well on the road, but they just haven't done it this week at home. And now they send Rhys Hoskins back to the IL. It seems to be another one of these National League East teams that just is climbing out of the race as opposed to climbing into the playoff race. And Gallen is probably 2K too cheap for his talent level. I played him, quite a bit of him I had in that game in Coors. And I think he could put up 20 to 25 fantasy points here. And I think at that price point, he'll be fine along with Eliezer Hernandez and Kikuchi in that range.
All right, Big T, wrap up the conversation here at pitcher for us.
Yeah, I think it's pretty open tonight. Some nights I feel like it's cut and dry. You got to play certain guys. Tonight, just looking at it, I mean, I haven't made my official teams yet. I'm playing like 4 on each side again. I think I got 6 or 7 guys that I could mix between those 4 teams, and that's more than usual. Usually I'm a little tighter, so maybe we narrow the bats down a little bit on my end and spread out pitcher a little more, because I'm not overly – even like Kikuchi I think is a great play. And like I said, I'm just a little bit uneasy. Scherzer, I love Scherzer. Just a little uneasy about a team like the Padres. Nothing just that I'm totally like yesterday I came on the premium show with those guys, said I'm only playing the 2 pitchers, both guys from Miami, all teams just shows you can't really pigeonhole yourself on any slate. You got to shake it up tonight. I think I'm going to mix my pitchers up a little more than usual.
Yeah, baseball is the one DFS sport where Big T and Hoop typically align, and I'm on the same page tonight. Like especially on DraftKings, on FanDuel, I think it might be a little bit different. I'll probably narrow it down, especially because you're only playing one pitcher. But on DraftKings, I'm looking at probably like 7 guys, like the guys at the top: Corbin, Hernandez, Kikuchi. I potentially would keep Gallen in there. Keller. So I'm going to have exposure to a lot of bats, and that's fine because I'm with you. I think I'm going to have a very narrow pool at offense when we kind of talk about some of these offenses. JT, go ahead and wrap up the pitcher conversation for us, and we'll get into some offensive talk.
Yeah, the last thing about Scherzer, I just don't see a way that I won't be overweight on Scherzer simply because, again, this is one of the few instances where I think you can have some trust in Dave Roberts, right? He went through a ton of arms last night. He's still limited on his pitching rotation. They tried to sign Cole Hamels. He immediately got hurt and retired again. They're throwing David Price out there every 5th day. I'm surprised they didn't try and sign Jake Arrieta before the Padres did. But these two teams are very desperate for good pitching performances. And that's why again, I'm concerned about a pitch count with you, Darvish, but as well as he's pitched against this team, the fact that these two teams played for 7 hours last night, I think this is a spot I'm going to be heavy on pitching, and I'm going to be tempted to mix in some you Darvish as well.
All right. Let's before we get into the offense, haven't mentioned it. Decent job, 330 watching, 91 likes. I really haven't had to pressure you guys lately. You guys have gotten the job done. So, we're going to request some likes and some subscriptions. It'll be smooth sailing. I won't have to bring it up again. Before we get into the offense, I did want to mention we had a nice hit, I believe it was yesterday, in tennis. Our girl Susie heads up the tennis content, and Tay Rosa won 9.3K in tennis. Took down, it looks like the $1,500 single entry for $7,500. Took down the $300 single entry as well for, it looks like $1,350. So congratulations to Tay Rosa. And tennis is a sport that a lot of people kind of overlook, but, we have content for all tennis slates that are out there. And like I said, Susie does a phenomenal job of that. So congratulations.
2 days ago too in tennis, my buddy that golfs around here won $15 entry into the tennis 10K first place, $15 into 10K, literally just a casual player. He golfed with me and Rubio not too long ago, Uncle T around here. And just a casual player like we always talk about, literally playing for fun and just messing around, looks at the content, $15, 10K back, tennis. I mean, that's part of the advantage to having all the sports under one subscription.
Yeah, and there was a guy on Twitter that made a comment like, "Oh, I want to subscribe, but I don't play all the sports," and that's why we keep the price. I mean, that's why we keep the price so low and affordable. Where it's all everything's covered. You might get into a sport like I never would have started playing NASCAR if we didn't have such a good NASCAR team. Now I play NASCAR DFS. MMA, I would have never gotten into MMA if we didn't have a guy like Title breaking it down. We didn't have DC Title Joey Work doing the shows. You kind of get into different things with the subscription. So it's a low, fair price for all the sports. And like I said, tennis is included. We're never going to hit you up like some of these other sites do with outrageous price tags for some of these sports, just offensive stuff. I get the emails. It's
I almost responded too, because if we charge for one sport, it wouldn't be that much cheaper than the overall price. We're not going to, it wouldn't be like, oh, the overall price is 80, so you get baseball for $20 a month or something. Like it would still be $50-$60 a month, because that's what you get with the baseball. It's just there's no in between with that.
I thought about getting in there and leave, posting a response. I was like, I don't see this one going anywhere. So, I mean, okay, what are we going to say? All right, we have 15 sports that we cover. Let's divide it by let's divide the price by 15. So, all right, here's the NFL content for $10 a month. We got guys taking down hundreds of thousands of dollars on a weekly basis, but we'll give it to you for 10. It doesn't make much sense. We laid out a fair price tag, a fair model. You know what you're getting up front. You're never going to get upcharged like these other sites. So good example here to the tennis win. So congratulations to Tay Rosa. Let's get into some offenses. And first game on the slate here, we have the Cardinals. We have the Pirates at 8.5 total in this game. Cardinals team total is approaching 5, and the Pirates kind of hovering around 4. Cardinals for me are an offense I really have not played much this season. It's worked out well. I'd say they've definitely underachieved from a offensive standpoint. But tonight we have a smaller slate. We don't have a lot of standout spots. I'm going to be on the Cardinals a little bit here and hope they're able to do some damage on the road. You're guaranteed the ninth inning at bats because they're on the road here, going against Mitch Keller and this just atrocious pitching staff of the Pirates. So I definitely have some interest in the Cardinals. And I think you can go low too with this offense. You can get down to the bottom. You play our boy Lars or Sosa, Bader. So a lot of different ways to go with this Cardinals offense. Obviously the guys at the top, solid plays as well too, Goldschmidt, Arenado. And then on the Pirates side, I won't be playing the Pirates. I played the Pirates last couple nights, so I don't think this is the spot for them. Let's go to you first, JT. Talk to me here about this Cardinals-Pirates game.
Yeah, Mitch Keller, his probably best start of the year came just a week ago on the road in St. Louis. This is a different park. And, I don't expect Mitch Keller to pitch as well as he did last week. That's definitely an outlier performance. So I could see definitely have some interest in the Cardinals here. And the rest of this game just doesn't appeal to me. The park, the pitchers, the upside of the offenses. I do think if the Cardinals get it going, you have a completely rebuilding bullpen in Pittsburgh. And that's the appeal there, is that they could get to the bullpen early. But outside of that, not a lot of interest in this game.
Big T, any interest in the Cardinals or Pirates offense for you?
Yeah, I'm not big on this park, as everyone knows. I'm a Mitch Keller truther, too, even though he's been bad. I like his style. It's kind of like my dude from Miami. What's my dude from Miami's name that's been terrible, JT?
Luzardo.
Oh,
Luzardo.
Yeah. It's almost like him. I just keep playing this sorry-ass dude, and he's just not very good. But Mitch Keller, not very good as well. But for whatever reason, I just like him a little bit. And I'm definitely not playing St. Louis against him in this park. I don't know. I don't like either one of these lineups. If I was going to play anyone, it would be just a total punt like Lars from St. Louis. Good spot there. But I like all these St. Louis guys better against lefties, except him. Like Bader, I always like versus lefties. The guys up top, I like obviously better versus lefties. Just not a very good spot, I don't think. And at these prices, I think they're going to get ownership again because these Cardinals just always get ownership. Just because of the prices, I guess. I don't really know why. They suck. They don't ever score runs. So I'm going to be off this game. Offense is a little tougher tonight, though. I mean, there's not 4 or 5 just crazy good spots. So I can see why people play St. Louis. It's just not going to be me.
Yeah, for me, it's just by default. I mean, you start looking at these offenses and, there's a couple that stand out as being in good spots. But after that, I mean, it gets thin pretty damn quickly. So, I don't love the Cardinals. Like I said, I haven't played them much this season, but I might have to come here just to fill out some rosters. All right, let's go to the next game. We have the Diamondbacks. We have the Phillies. I have not seen the updated total. I'm assuming it's probably pretty similar, right? It looks like 9. So it's sitting at about 9 right now. 4, a little under 5 for the Phillies, and then about 4 is the team total for the Diamondbacks today here. This is a game where I don't have a ton of interest. Like, I've been on the Phillies a lot this season. They've treated me well. But for the reasons that JT brought up earlier, they've kind of been cool, and it's it's not a good spot to be in when you're continuing to load up on an offense that can't produce runs. So, like I said, this is probably going to be a stay away game for me. I mean, I guess I could be talked into either side if you guys have a strong opinion, but as it stands now, I probably won't be on either side of this game from an offensive standpoint. I'll go to you first, Big T. Any interest here in these two teams?
Yeah, I mean, just starting out, like I said, finishing the last game, there's just not that much offense on this slate. So it's tough. And Arizona's been hitting the ball a little better. I think I like them a little bit at the top. Always Ahmed against lefties. Now we got Matt Moore on the hill, obviously, which who was even pitching before that? Who did I make fun of? Who was it?
Eflin.
Yeah, freaking Eflin. I'd much rather play these guys against a guy like Matt Moore. So a lot of these early researchers, as you see in our Discord all day, doing all the research all day, might not be ready for the switch to Matt Moore. Different splits and different things going that way. But I like this Arizona lineup. And looking at the rest of the slate, I just don't see much. Like, it's tough outside of Boston to really sell yourself fully. I'm sure JT's going to have some good takes too, and Hoopsters as we go through. But, man, as of right now, I don't see a ton I love. So I'm excited to be talked into stuff. Arizona definitely is in play for me. And I don't really see – so is this line? I think Arizona should be favored in this game. Like, I haven't given out a bet in baseball in a while. I think Arizona is better in this game. The pitcher is way, way better. And honestly, the offense, I don't think is worse than Philadelphia, really. Just this lineup tonight, 1v1 here. I think Arizona should be favored. I don't know if it's moved since the pitcher change, but
updated line is Phillies are minus 155. So
yeah, like that's egregious. Arizona, I haven't given a winner on this show maybe since basketball. Tonight, Arizona is definitely a freaking winner as an underdog. So give me them. I'm going to play. I like these righties in there. I mean, Marte's obviously can go both ways, but Ahmed, Marte, Carson Kelly, I love. Christian Walker for 2,600. Great play down there. Sign me up for even like Drew Ellis as a total punt to play. Like if you want to do JT strategy, play you and play Scherzer, which I don't hate, by the way, because I don't think that many people will do it. And one of the advantages to playing two studs on slates like this, when there's no offense, just as the whole slate, you're like blown away when your two pitchers crush as to you can still do good with like no offense just because your two pitchers just totally blasted the slate. So give me Arizona. As far as Philly, I think Gallen's pretty good. I think Philly will get some ownership, and I just don't see it. Odubel Herrera, I'm always an Odubel guy, but man, he's up to 4K now. I think that's a fair price. You're not getting that big price break.
I just looked at these Phillies price tags. Holy, they're not getting any breaks. Segura 5K, Harper 6.4, Real Muto 5.4. I mean, those are some big boy price tags.
Yeah, and even my boy Brad Miller hasn't had a double-digit game in like a month. I don't see it from Philly. I'm gonna fade Philly. I'm gonna be with Hoop and fade that. I'm gonna be much heavier on Arizona, and like I said, wager that Arizona game if you got outlets.
JT, talk to me here about this Arizona and Phillies game from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, I liked Arizona against Zach Eflin because you knew that Joe Girardi, who's scared shitless to go to his bullpen no matter who's on the mound, he's got no choice with Eflin making his first start in 2 months. Now they move Matt Moore up a day. We know that Matt Moore isn't very good. And Matt Moore actually gives up a lot of hard contact to lefties as well. So Pavin Smith hitting in the 5-hole at 3.3 is fine. I like the Diamondbacks here quite a bit. The line is moving as we speak. It's moving towards Arizona. And I think that's because, once Girardi has to go to his bullpen somewhere in the 4th or 5th inning, if Moore can last that long, then I think it's going to be really difficult for them to keep the Diamondbacks in check. This is a team that has been injured most of the year. A lot of different injuries on this team. They've been finally almost fully healthy here for the last couple of weeks. And we've seen them hit up some pretty good pitchers. They got to Disclafani. They got to Gausman from San Francisco at home. They go on the road. They played pretty well in Pittsburgh. They don't have to, I think they take like a Greyhound or something from Pittsburgh to Philly. And I like this spot a lot. I like Big T's call on taking the Arizona money line. Take the run line, take the money line, parlay it. I think this is a really, really good spot for Arizona. And I don't think they'll get that much ownership on a 10-game slate. So, yeah, I think 9-game slate. So I think that's pretty good. I like them quite a bit. And like I said, I'll have some Gallen. I'm not going to have any Matt Moore.
Big T is making some line moves here as we speak. It was just 155. Now it's down to minus 150. The 5-cent shift based on Big T's talk.
It's going to keep moving too. Like, there's no way they should be minus 150 with Matt. Like, it should be like a 120 game, 125. Yeah. Like, there's plenty of value in that line.
I'm with you. All right, next game on the slate, we have the Nationals. We have the Marlins. Very low total in this game, sitting at 7.5. We all kind of liked the pitchers here. I mean, I'm pretty high in Corbin. We all were on board with Hernandez. Not a good spot for me to look offensively. The only thing I really see here would maybe be some one-offs on the Marlins side, maybe like Jesus Aguilar, Brinson, potentially Anderson, but not a ton of interest for me. I'll be fading this game. With the exception of maybe a couple one-offs on the Marlins side. JT, any interest here in Nationals or Marlins offense?
No, I think, if I'm running, and if I'm running a bunch of lineups, and I might have one Marlins stack on the chance that Corbin, has a meltdown, which he does sometimes. And like you said, Jesus Aguilar, Lewis Brinson, two guys that I would look at with power potential, but this park is not a park that I like to target offense in. And I think there are some better spots here on this slate. So maybe that minor interest in those guys. And then I like I said, Elieser Hernandez, probably points per dollar, my favorite arm on the slate.
Big T, I know you typically look to avoid playing offenses in some of these really pitcher-friendly ballparks. This is one of them here in Miami. I'm assuming, based on our conversation at the pitcher position, you don't have much interest here from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not interest here. Probably the least likely of the whole slate for me to play bats. I could make a case for basically every spot over this game. I like both pitchers. I like the park for pitching. Yeah, definitely no bats. I mean, the only thing I would do is just a one-off, like you said. I mean, if you need to play one of these, because they're cheap. I mean, these Miami guys are super cheap. Juan Soto, you can always play as just a total one-off at low ownership to where he could break the slate. But for me, I'm just going to stay clear.
All right, next game, we have the Rangers. We have the Indians, 9.5 total. Team total for the Indians, a little above 5, and then the team total for the Rangers slightly above 4. By default, the Indians will be a popular team tonight. We just don't have many options. We have the Red Sox, which we'll talk about later, who will definitely be the most popular. But after them, it's probably going to be the Indians. And like I said, that's mostly because we don't have many options from an offensive standpoint. They're going against Jordan Lyles, who sucks. He owned me on Saturday night, the FanDuel Live final, shut down Boston, which was unfortunate. But I do think the Indians get to him today. On the Rangers side, a couple cheap bets if you're looking for full punts. At second base on DraftKings, Andy Ibanez, 2.2K. They have DJ Peters batting cleanup, 2.2K. You have a punt catcher, Jose Trevino, at 2.2K as well. So there are some punts in this lineup that you can go to kind of round out your line, especially if you're going to play those lineups where you're double paying up at pitcher. Coming here and grabbing a couple of these Rangers can definitely go a long way in your lineups. Big T, talk to me about this one from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, it's a funny slate where a lot of people are going to play the same teams. These are the slates where I think chalk becomes way chalkier than usual because, for one, it's only, 9 games. You got a couple games that aren't really even in the equation as far as offense. You got Boston and Cleveland and Philly, teams like that St. Louis that are going to get all the ownership. We saw it at the live final on Saturday night. Texas scored a bunch of runs. They get this Cleveland. I mean, however the hell you say it, Hinkis or JT knows his family. How do you say his name?
That's the right way.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, Hinkis. He sucks. And Texas sucks too, but I don't know. Like, this is a slate Texas could win, couldn't it? I mean, there's not any offense on the slate. Cleveland, if you get in this bullpen early, score some runs early, you could have a blow-up spot where they score a ton of runs at no ownership. It's another team where you can throw 2 stud pitchers in there too, Max and Sale and Darvish and those guys up top. I don't hate Texas, and I haven't played them in 3 months because they are really bad. I mean, this lineup is terrible, but it's the slate. It's all slate reflective. If no one scores runs, which I think there's a good chance tonight that we get to these late games and we're like, man, there is no scoring on this slate type thing. And you're just like, any offense is good offense. What if it's like that and Texas does what they did Saturday night? No one had them in the live final. They scored however many they ended up with, 12 runs, 10 runs. If they do that again and you get these guys super low owned at cheap prices, you could win the whole slate with that. So I kind of like Texas. I mean, a Texas-Arizona team on a slate like tonight, man, these are the slates you can win a lot of money as a tournament player. Don't just go in there and play Boston and Cleveland tonight and think you're going to ship, because that's where all the ownership's going. You play a Texas-Arizona team tonight, you could win a lot of money. Granted, you could be frustrated and they scored 1 run, but you got to know what you're doing going into the slate.
Yeah, I mean, this for sure, it is very similar to that Saturday live final where there was a couple obvious spots. And then outside of that, it was, yeah, because remember it was Atlanta and Boston. And then after Atlanta and Boston, there was like nothing. Would not be shocked at all at the end of the night if a random team like Texas took it down. And it's not like, this Indians pitcher and their bullpen is anything all that impressive. So it would not be surprising. Now, obviously, you look at the names of guys in this Texas lineup, and most of them suck. So you're going to, kind of have to get lucky. But it's what it's all about when we're talking about smallish slates with not a ton of offense. JT, talk to me about this Rangers-Indians game.
Man, I got to get my focus back. Big T said an Arizona-Texas stack, and all the blood rushed to my midsection.
It's not going to win, is it?
No, I'm excited. I like it because so here's the thing about Texas. They got Nick Solak back about a week ago. And to me, it's an example of how sometimes one guy can make a big difference in the lineup. But in addition to him, some of these guys have brought up, Mangone talked about this, I think on the show we did together on Friday, against lefties and even against righties. The Texas strikeout rate has come way, way down. It's well under 20% over the course of the last month here. They're just not striking out as much. Some of these guys are developing. Sam Hentges actually, a night, I think it was Friday night, when everybody wanted to play the Angels the day after they scored 13 runs, Sam Hentges goes like 3 1/3 innings, give up 1 run. And I don't think he's going to do that again. And I like these. I mean, you have to like these prices. You have to look at some of these guys. I mean, Adolis Garcia at 3.1. How long has it been since he's had a double dong night, right? I mean, maybe it comes tonight. So I like these Texas bats. I also have some interest in Cleveland. I mean, the other thing I'll say about Texas is their bullpen has been much better. They're not the same kind of blow-up squad that you saw early in the year where once you get past the starter, everybody's going to get a hit. Everybody's going to score runs. So some of the prices here, I think, are fadeable prices on Cleveland. They still have some cheap pieces like Bradley Zimmer and Miles Straw leading off. But, yeah, I have some interest in both sides of this game, probably more interest on the Texas side.
All right, very good. Should be a low-owned team. Not a lot of people are playing Texas on a regular basis, so it's potentially low-owned stack to target tonight. Next game, we have the Giants. We have the Mets, 8.5 total, and basically, 4 1/4 for the Giants, 4 1/4 for the Mets in terms of a team total. Wood versus Carrasco, 2 capable pitchers. Obviously, the Mets have been a disappointment overall from an offensive standpoint. I like Alex Wood. I'm not really going to be on the Mets here at all today. The Giants side, though, I think is somewhat interesting. Their lineup is not super great tonight, but I think looking at guys like Chris Bryant, Crawford, Big T's boy, Wilmer Flores, Yastrzemski batting 7th will be virtually unowned. I think the Giants are somewhat interesting if you're looking for another low-owned stack. JT, I'll stick with you. Talk to me about the Giants and Mets offensive.
Yeah, definitely not a ton of interest in the Mets offense, and I have some interest in the Giants. It's just a crappy park, even as bad as the Mets bullpen has been. Carrasco, this is now his 3rd or 4th start back finally from the IL. He's too cheap in this spot. I'm just not going to use him. I think there are better pitchers, but I don't know that I want to go. I don't know that I would go heavy on San Francisco. I think maybe a one-off. I mean, any of these lefties can put the ball out against Carlos Carrasco, and certainly Bryant has been playing really, really well since he got to San Fran. So some limited interest here, and it's on the Giants side.
Big T, you typically avoid these types of ballparks. We can't be super picky, although on this slate because of the limited options. Any interest here in Giants and Mets bats for you?
Yeah, I can't go here. I mean, Brandon Bell, I don't know. He wasn't maybe he was in the lineup earlier, but he's on the bereavement list now too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't love the park. I think both pitchers are good. One of the things I've tried to do this baseball season is if we have just clear spots against bad pitching, it's kind of what JT sold me on early in the season. I don't need to pick on these better pitchers. Yeah, Carrasco and Wood, they've had some rough spots here and there, but they both have the talent to limit the other team. Bad park too. I don't really see a reason to go here, so I'll be off this game.
All right, before we continue on, please do us that favor, hit the like button. Got better. We got about 450 people watching, 162 likes. Gonna need more. We got to get that above 200 to get to the plays and all that at the end of the show. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Wanted to remind you guys that we have the partnership going with Underdog. If you go to Underdog and use the promo code RUNPURE for your deposit, you get a $25 deposit bonus on that first deposit. So you go to Underdog, use that promo code RUNPURE. We have some best ball content out there. We have the videos going. Our producer Simon has been heading those up with Bobby Gomes and Snyder. So you can check out those videos, draft some Underdog best ball teams. I know Big T is grinding hard in the streets. What are you up to now? What about like 1,500 best ball teams, Big T?
Still sitting at 0, but I did deposit over the weekend, though. When we were in Colorado, set up my account, got that promo bonus, 25. I put 100 in to get my 25, and I'm still sitting at 125. So I'm in good shape, ready to fire up my first draft. Maybe tonight. Who knows?
You're ahead. Stay ahead. So we got, if you go on over there, use that promo code RUNPURE, you'll get that $25 added to your account. 4 more games, and we'll get into some stacks, and we'll talk about the infamous plays of the day, the return of the Eiffel Tower. I mean, that's got to be my favorite. I mean, that's one of the first name. It might have been like the first named play outside of like the workbench play of the day, the Eiffel Tower. I mean, that had to be like one of the first outside of the workbench, and just, I mean, the best name of all. I mean, Uncle T's mustache ride play of the day is pretty good. G Risen's up in smoke play of the day is pretty good, but the Eiffel Tower play of the day is just in a league of its own. There's no doubt about that. So that comes at the end of the show if we get those likes up. Got the Twins, we got the Red Sox, a 10 total again, and most of that is obviously on the Boston side. Their team total is sitting at 6.5. It's because Chris Sale's on the mound. The team total for the Twins, about 3.5. Boston's going to be a very popular team tonight. There's no two ways about it. They're going to be the most popular team by a wide margin. They've been for the last couple nights. Tough to avoid on this slate, but I do think there is a lot of different ways you can get unique with this Boston lineup. And, I've had success the last 2 nights, playing Boston and not being all the way at the top of the order. I mean, guys at the bottom have upside. Yet Renfroe, I believe they put him on the bereavement list, so he's not going to be in the lineup, which kind of sucks because I was enjoying playing him the last couple nights. But Travis Shaw at the bottom, ownership should be low. Verdugo, we don't have the lineup yet, but we'll see when it comes out. But I think attacking Boston, picking off some of these guys at the bottom makes a lot of sense on a slate like this. Most people, when they stack them up, they're going to go right to the top. And I'd be willing to put a lot of money on it at the end of the night. If you stack Boston 1 through 5, you're most likely not going to win a GPP. If you're playing this team, you need to get unique with the squad. I think you can look to the Twins for some one-offs. I mean, there's some cheap guys. Donaldson is 3-3, Sano 3-2, Rucker 2-4. I don't have interest stacking against Chris Sale, but he's been known to give up some home runs, and I don't mind, looking at a couple of these guys as one-offs. Big T, I'll go to you first. Talk to me about how you're going to handle the Boston situation tonight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it helps us a little bit that the lineup's not out. I mean, they're clearly going to be the highest owned just because they're the only team with a really big total. Good park. Man, I'm haunted from Boston, though. They killed us at the live final. Last night, they didn't do anything again until late. They got a little push late. But they've scarred me a little bit. So if I get a chance to tonight where I don't play a ton of teams, JT's the master of the 150 in baseball. He might be able to, when it gets to him, give a better idea of the multi-entry. But with only a couple teams each site, I'm kind of leaning towards just fading this team. And I know that sounds crazy because they are the only team with a high total. I just feel like you can play tonight a little different than most baseball slates where we can get some really low-owned teams. It's going to be a bullpen game too, I assume, from Minnesota for the most part. John Gant can't go super deep. I mean, JT, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but
they've been trying to stretch him out back into a starter, but he's not going to go more than 5 if he gets to 5.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if he gets in trouble, then maybe they pull him out. I don't think he goes. I don't know. Obviously, Boston, if ownership didn't matter at all, they're obviously the top team as far as offense. But I don't think you have to go there. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they've hurt my feelings the last week. But I like some of these other teams, like we said, Texas, Arizona, some of these other spots. I just think you got an opportunity tonight to win a GPP or to win a lot of money tonight by fading Boston for some of these crazy low-owned teams on this slate. And I think I might take a chance at it tonight, try to ship something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, you're fading 3 of the top offenses on a slate. You're fading the one and only offense that's going to be super highly owned. I mean, yes, Cleveland is going to have high ownership, but they're not going to be anywhere close to the ownership that's on Boston. It's baseball. Variance is super high. I don't hate the move. I mean, I'm obviously going to be playing Boston tonight, but that's why Big T is better at GPPs than Hoop. JT Hayes, talk to me about how you plan on handling this Boston offense tonight.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're going to be popular, and I'm going to be entering a bunch of lineups, but I'm going to try and be either even or underweight on Boston. There's 2 things about Chris Sale, obviously, in his return from Tommy John surgery. In his last start, he only pitched 5 innings, and the score when he left the game was 5-0. He only threw 71 pitches, velocity down a little bit throughout the game up until the very end, down about a mile, maybe 2 miles an hour. So nothing significant, but it is interesting that he pitched 89 pitches his first start, then 71 in his next start. And we know that this Boston bullpen, for the most part, recently has been giving up runs. They did it again last night. So I do think you can mini stack some guys on this Minnesota team. Talked about Josh Donaldson there. They moved Miguel Sano up now, hitting cleanup tonight. That's a nice little 1-2 mini stack right there. Even Ryan Jeffers at 2.5. And we'll see. Sale, always has been the type of guy last couple of years in his career when he's been healthy that even if he struck out 10 or 11 guys, he could also give up a bomb or 2, very similar to Max Scherzer. So I think at these prices, 3.3 for Donaldson, 3.2 for Sano, 2.5 for Jeffers, even Big T's guy Ref Snyder leading off at 2.0, make for an interesting, 1 or 2 man stack that I think because of Chris Sale is probably going to be unique on this slate.
Yeah, I'm down for a couple Twins guys for sure. 1 or 2 would definitely win full stack, but like you said, even when he was at his prime, always good to give up a home run or 2. So don't hate that at all. Next game, we have the Dodgers. We have the Padres, 7.5 total. It's because we have Scherzer. We have Darvish. Not going to be looking at any offense here. To me, this is a good spot to stay off the offense and focus on the pitchers. JT, any Dodgers or Padres for you?
Yeah, I mean, not really interested in the offense, especially at these prices on these 2 teams. I mean, Turner, Muncy, you have to go down to the 6th guy in the Dodgers lineup before you get someone under 4.9K on DraftKings. And then even with the Padres, 6.5 for Tatis, 5.2 for Machado, Cronenworth up to 4.1. As I said, these teams played 16 innings, more than 6.5 hours last night. And I am firmly on the side of Scherzer. And like I said, thinking about whether or not it's worth risking Darvish in the event that he is fully healthy and, gets some type of leash. But I really have my doubts about that.
Big T, any Dodgers or Padres bats for you?
No, like I said earlier in the show, pick on the bad pitchers, not go after these good pitchers. I don't really see any reason to pick on these two guys on this slate. So I'm not going to play any bats here.
All right, keep it moving. We have the Yankees. We have the Athletics, 8.5 total, about 4.25 for both teams. Tyon versus Caprilin. For me in this game, I will have some Yankees just because of the power that's in this lineup. Do I love them tonight? No. Do I love their matchup? No. But by the nature of the slate, I want to target upside. I think these Yankees bats obviously have that upside we need. The park sucks. The matchup's not great. But, we're not going to have the ability to be super picky tonight when targeting hitters. So I'll be on the Yankees. Not a ton of interest in the A's. I mean, they're a team I typically stay away from. I don't know. They just never get me all that excited. Don't really love their lineup, like Jed Lowry, in the cleanup spot, Harrison. Just not a big fan of the lineup. I think you can play a guy like Olsen as a one-off. I don't mind that. But my focus here in this game is going to be the Yankees power bats. Hope I get lucky with some home runs. Big T will stick with you. Thoughts here on the Yankees A's?
Yeah, I've been stacking the Yankees a bunch lately, but one of my biggest rules in baseball is I never stack these big East Coast teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox. Whenever they go out west to these big ballparks, I think it's like the best possible time to fade them because they still get ownership, and I just don't see it. The park is so big. The pitchers are pretty good in this game. I just think it's like an incredible fade spot. I never really play the Yankees, though, in these huge parks. I just think the park downshift is huge. The slate is tough, but I'd rather take chances in a different spot. So I'm going to be off here. I never play Oakland either, so I'm off Oakland for sure too. But no Yankees for me.
JT, any Yankees or A's for you?
The A's are frustrating because the two guys in this lineup that I would be most interested in playing, I would say two of the three guys in this lineup that I would really have interest in playing play the same goddamn position on DraftKings. So it's sinful that after all the years I've been playing on DK, they can't figure this designated hitter situation out, and they have to make everybody first base eligible. So I would have some interest in maybe a one-off here on the Oakland side of the lefties. James Kaprielian has not been the same as he was earlier in the season, but I want to just remember that this guy was $2,000 more on DraftKings just about a month ago, and he pitched well against these Yankees in Yankee Stadium on a hot night. Like you guys said, big ballpark. I think you can throw Kaprielian into the mix here for small percentage of shares if you're running multiple lineups. He's much cheaper than he was. And look, Oakland's in this mix. Oakland's in the playoff race mix, the pennant mix. They need to win games. Don't know how long his leash is going to be, but I think he's another guy that has outside potential to get you upwards of 20 points and maybe a win if they could put some runs up on Jameson Taillon.
All right, let's move into the last game of the slate. We have the Royals. We have the Mariners. Total is 8, 3.5 for the Royals, 4.5 for the Mariners. When we talked pitcher, we were all pretty interested in Kikuchi. So, for me personally, I'm not going to have any Royals bats. The Mariners, I guess, could potentially be somewhat tempting. I talk about it here all the time, though. I rarely play the Mariners, and it's worked out well all season long. There's not been many times where you've needed the Mariners bats to win GPPs. Another one of these, a lot of games in just pitcher-friendly ballparks. I mean, the majority of them. I guess that's probably why, adding to why offense is so tough tonight. I'm not going to be anywhere, I don't think, in this game. Kyle Seager maybe as a one-off, Haniger as a one-off, maybe a little mini stack with those guys. But overall, I'm going to be off this game from an offensive standpoint. JT, any Royals or Mariners for you?
I have some mild interest in the Mariners side here. You mentioned Brad Keller pitching really well, 2 really, really good games in a row. The consistency hasn't been there for him. And if he puts a couple of guys on, I think it's the type of situation where these left-handed bats can get to him. Like I said, not a ton of interest, but on a slate where there's really not a ton of offense, I think I'll include some Mariner three-mans to go along with some of my other stacks here.
Big T, anything for you in this game?
No. I mean, I know this show's probably been boring because we haven't been on that many spots, but we're not like the other sites where
today, boys. It is a tough one.
I mean, it's one of those slates where we could do it like some of these other sites do and just go through and like recommend bats from every team. But I don't really know how that helps you because that's not how I'm going to build my teams tonight. I don't think that's how these guys are going to build their teams either. So if I don't like a game, I'm not going to just say it just to say it for the sake of the show. And I like both of these pitchers. If I was playing 150 tonight, I would play a decent amount of both these pitchers. Not really any reason to play hitters. I mean, the way the shape sets up, you got 6 early games, 3 late games. And I know I do this all year. I don't like bats in these West Coast parks. But tonight it seems even easier. I mean, you got a 2-hour gap. I know it's not news like in basketball where you need to be late swapping in news and put this guy in late. But it's still, I don't know, like I'll just get the early bats. I'll leave my pitchers late where I could play a few of these pitchers in the late games. And then just as long as my pitcher doesn't get scratched or something, just pay attention to the news that way. I don't like the late bats, though, so I'm going to play all early bats.
You going to come on my Cardinals with me or what?
No, that definitely not coming on the Cardinals.
You guys did sell me, though, on the Diamondbacks. I do think the Diamondbacks are good offense. We did get the Red Sox lineup, and not the greatest at the bottom. I was hoping to see it a little differently. You got, the top 4 are obvious: Kiki, Schwarber, JD, Devers, and then we go Verdugo, Vasquez, Arroyo, Duran, Dahlbeck. Not the greatest lineup for the Red Sox, which makes it a little tougher because, I mean, those top 4 guys are just going to be so highly owned tonight. I mean, just so highly owned. Bottom of this lineup, not all that great, like I said. So I think we're going to see extreme chalk here on the Red Sox. We don't have the Indians lineup either at this point. Depending on how that shakes out, the ownership there could be pretty high too. All right, as Big T kind of alluded to, not the greatest slate, not the most exciting slate to talk about in the end of August, couple weeks before NFL, but we got through it, boys.
I think you should give the clarification, though, that we made there. I do think these are the slates that are easier to ship, though. It's an ugly slate, but if you can get different, and JT's really, really good at this. I see him do it ever since I've known him the last couple of years, is get different on these. These are the slates to get different. I've come on these show a lot too. K. Alex made fun of me where I take too much chalk sometimes, and this is not a slate, I don't think, where you go in here and play Boston and the Indians. And I just don't think it is. If you want to min cash, maybe, but these are slates where if you can avoid a Boston like 14-run game, you can ship. Give them 6 runs with 1 bomb or something. You can beat that. And these are the slates that you don't have to score an absurd – you don't need every guy in your lineup to hit a home run to ship tonight. These are the ones I like to take some stabs on with teams like Texas and Arizona, 2 crappy teams. I'm excited for the slate, even though in context it's a crappy slate.
And that's the mindset you need to have when you go to build your teams tonight. A lot on a full 14-game slate, when you build your team, you're going to have somewhere in the fantasy point range of a home run at least for every one of your guys to take down a GPP. When you're building your teams tonight, know that tonight be very viable to ship with a 0, be very viable to ship with multiple guys in single digits. Like that is in play tonight. So when you're building your teams, keep that in mind. It'll make it easier to construct some of these lineups. JT, final thoughts on the slate before we get into the plays of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And we see so many of our members in Discord that are doing either the 20 max or something like that, or they're running a bunch of lineups. And a slate like tonight is kind of easy. It's like we named 3 or 4 offenses that were a little bit off the board that we think could have success tonight. So you take a couple of your lineups, 2 or 3 lineups, you cover the chalk with them. Mix in Cleveland, mix in Boston. Maybe you want to do 4 or 5, fine. And then you've got 10, 15 lineups to play with where you could mix in Arizona and Texas, put in some Cardinals, put in some of the Yankees power if you want, left-handed bats from Oakland, what have you. And, maybe the Giants, whatever. And then you're covered, right? You've basically covered the bases that you want to, but you're not just so concentrated that where if the Red Sox somehow only score 4 runs or even 5 runs, right, because of their prices, you're not dead because you got all these other opportunities.
Yeah, no, I'm right in line with you on that point for sure. All right, let's see where we're at. All right. A few more likes on the way out here, guys. We really appreciate it, and hit the subscribe button. We're going to get into the plays of the day. Go to JT first with, like I said, it's probably my favorite play, the infamous Eiffel Tower play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, I saw this price and I thought it was hard to concentrate. Like I said, just very excited. I won't stand up now because I'm thinking about it again, but we've seen this kid all year long and he's been good and he's become one of my favorite players. El Bombi from Texas, Adolis Garcia, 3.1K only on DraftKings. He's going to hit at least one tonight off of this clown, Sam Hentges. And I think he's maybe steal a base. I think he can get us up to 20 points on DraftKings tonight. I like El Bombi tonight a lot.
El Bombi?
El Bombi.
Oh, I like that.
I was listening to this is how you just, this is like your life, right? So I'm listening on the radio in my car to a Texas Rangers radio cast because I've got something going on in the game. And all they could talk about is El Bombi. I love these guys. I love this nickname. I love this kid. This team, this Texas team. The park sucks, but some of these guys, it's going to be exciting to see what they build here in a couple of years with some of the talent that they have.
I have to play him now that his name's El Bombi. It's an obligation for me.
At first, I thought you said Al Bundy. I'm like, who? Al Bundy made it. Al Bundy made it into the major league.
El Bombi, like bomb, like the bombs that he hits. El Bombi. And they got shirts, they got T-shirts. You know what? The next time that we do a show together, I'm going to be wearing an El Bombi shirt in honor of his performance tonight, but also just because he's one of my favorite players.
Love it. All right, I'm going to a team for the 4X play of the day that you guys kind of sold me on. I'm going to the D-backs. I'm going to go to my boy Christian Walker, batting sixth. Cheap price tag. He's 2.6K, batting sixth. I think good value on the slate. And, I think he gets us a bomb here. And nice thing, good hitter's ballpark here as well for the D-backs. So I'm definitely on the D-backs with you guys. Christian Walker is going to get us a bomb as the 4X play of the day. All right. And lastly, we're going to go to Big T with the official Thursday night workbench play of the day. Who do you got for us?
I was gonna go with the obvious Big T guy, Nick Ahmed. I was gonna go with him against the lefty riding the one hole. But then I thought, I want to get a little more creative after you guys come up with two good plays. I'm looking at Arizona and Texas, so I'm just scrolling through the lineup, seeing who I could give as a play like this. The Texas guys, I could go with a few of them that I like. Solak down there was definitely in play for this. But I'm going to go lefty right next to Hoop with Mr. Josh Rojas, 4,500 down in the 7 hole. Can you imagine how low owned this guy's going to be? Whoo, is he going to be low owned? Just how I like it on these workbench plays. You got Christian Walker cheap next to him. 4,500 for Josh Rojas hitting 7th. He's going to be so low owned, and he's going to crush for us tonight. He might be the reason we ship tonight. Josh Rojas, workbench play of the night.
JT, you were saying Matt Moore's giving up hard contact to lefties too, right? So kind of makes makes a little more sense.
He's such a good. Put Pavitt in there too, and you got 2 lefties. Oh man, whoo! Tonight it's going to be a good night.
Let's get it done, boys. Tune in to the Up to Lock show. They'll be kicking off here in about 15, 20 minutes. Head over to the website, runpuresports.com. Check them out. If you're not a member, you got about a week and a half to use that promo code RPS NFL 15. I'm holding firm. I think it's going to be gone. That first Thursday game, it's out the door. So you got about, maybe a week and a half, I believe. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I don't know. 2 weeks from today, right?
2 weeks from today. Yeah.
2 weeks from today. So you got 2 weeks to use it. So a little more time, but make sure you get in there. and become a member. 15% off for life as long as you don't cancel your membership at any point. So head on over there, check it out. We're going to get on out of here, though. So for JT Hayes, for Big T, I'm Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest. We'll be back tomorrow.